Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Skull Session Recruiting Podcast brought to you by BuckeyeHuddle.com. I am Marc Givler, joined by Kevin Noon. Our signing day recruiting capsules continue here. We are looking at Jason Moore in this one. And of course, again, it's National Signing Day for the 2023 class. Jason Moore is now signed. He's a Buckeye. It's official. Ohio State won this battle over Notre Dame and many other top programs back in July. This was a huge commitment for Ohio State in this class, at the time and remains so now today on signing day, and just a big piece of this recruiting class for the Buckeyes. Kevin, Jason Moore, DeMatha. The last time the Buckeyes grabbed a defensive lineman out of DeMatha, it worked out pretty well. Some guy named Chase Young. What do you see out of Jason Moore?
Well, I want to first say that for a player of Jason Moore's caliber, I've heard nothing about him. Even when he committed, I heard nothing about him. I don't think anybody out there realizes exactly what Larry Johnson and Ryan Day managed to pull off in landing the 6'6", 255-pounder. Jason Moore is a tremendous player, a high four-star, top 100 type of player. I'm just really impressed with everything that I see out of him. You see guys like this come out maybe of other programs, and you wonder, okay, but who are they playing? They're playing against nobody. They're playing against just civilians. But DeMatha Catholic is a program that it's in a great area. They play great competition. They'll pretty much play anybody that you put in front of them. And then to see Jason Moore, as we're watching the tape here on the YouTube side of things, get out there and just get home. And yes, the times will be a lot quicker when you get to the next level, but it's some guys just have a nose for being able to finish plays, and this is a guy who can finish plays.
Yeah, and I was able to actually watch him in person this fall. They played at a showcase down at Ironton High School, and they destroyed Benedictine from out of Cleveland. And he is first of all, jumps out to you immediately from a physical standpoint. He is just so physically impressive. He's every bit of 6'5", long arms. He's already a big kid. He's not one of those like, oh, he's got to fill out and put on 30 pounds. He is already really well filled out, strong, aggressive, can split double teams, can, gets through all this traffic teams throw. They chip him, they double him, all sorts of little tricks they do to try and get him off his game. He's kind of is able to blow through all that traffic and still make plays. Was fascinating to me watching him against Benedictine. They'd put him, in front of a guard. They'd put him out, line up across from a tackle. They'd put him out as like a wide 9 stance. They'd stand him up at times. There really isn't a spot along the defensive line he can't play. I think he's going to be a tremendous interior pass rusher. I don't think he's going to stay on the edge, but it's possible he could. I think he's athletic enough. He could probably do it. Here he is standing up. I mentioned that earlier, but I think maybe interior pass rusher. But when you look at this Ohio State defensive line, what they're going to be needing moving forward, I think this is a great fit. I think with Jim Knowles now, they're going to maybe be looking for that those either the bigger bodied defensive ends or those big interior pass rushers. It's not so much right defensive end, left defensive end anymore. You can kind of there is kind of with the jack position, and you're going back to more of kind of a true strong side end. So I think there are situations where he can line up there, especially in running downs. And then I think, again, when you go into those third and longs, I think you could even line him up as almost like a nose in those situations. He's such a big kid. How do you see him fitting into this, and kind of, I guess how important was this? They're about to be, graduating some pretty good defensive linemen.
Exactly. And let's not forget JT Tuimoloau is going to be going into his third year of eligibility. Jack Sawyer is going to be going into his third year of eligibility. You need to keep the roster full of these types of guys. And I do think you bring up a very, interesting quandary of, is he an inside guy? Is he an outside guy? You're right, exactly, with having the Jack Leo on the one side I remember in my early days in the industry of having to try and explain the difference between the weak side defensive end and the strong side defensive end. And oh, well, one's bigger. Well, Jason Moore is bigger. That's what he is. He is, I think he's going to be a guy that, yeah, you're not going to have to hang a bunch of weight on him, but I think that when you get there and you have a nutritionist and you have everything else being carefully monitored, I think that he's somebody who can put on some extra weight and not give anything up at that point. But he's somebody that I would love to see quickly in a Rushman situation on when it's a passing situation and it's just your responsibility is go get the quarterback. I think that he's somebody who's going to be able to do that quicker than maybe some of the other responsibilities that would be there maybe with an end when you look at things with containment and setting an edge and everything else. I mean, and not saying that he wasn't getting that type of coaching at DeMatha, but it's a whole different ball game when you go from Fridays to Saturdays, just as it is when you go from Saturdays to Sundays. So I don't know. I guess I always kind of envisioned more playing kind of a strong side defensive end, but you bring up some very valid points about having him inside, having him more of a three or something. So now I'm gonna have to watch his tape again, and I'm gonna have to think about it. So I guess I came to the table woefully underprepared because I don't know where I like him best.
Yeah, that's gonna be the big question, and, there's a few of these guys in this class. Are they this? Are they that? I think he's one of those guys we're gonna have these discussions about. Player comp for me, this is one of the more natural player comps for me, and people can disagree if they want, but this was the one, some of these guys, I'm like, gosh, I'm really reaching on this, or I don't know, let me just think about this for a while, but this one came very easily to me. I think he's Draymond Jones. Draymond Jones played defensive end at St. Ignatius, coming out of high school, and was kind of a guy that you knew was never going to be 300 pounds, but had a kind of a big frame. It's like, oh, is he going to stay outside and be kind of a strong end, or is he going to? Now at that point, they were kind of left defensive end, right defensive end. They weren't as different as maybe they are now. So there's a little bit of a scheme difference, I think, that plays into to this for Jason. But that's who I see. And he's probably got even a little more upside than Draymond, because Draymond's about 6'3". Jason's every bit of 6'5", 6'5.5". He's longer. So he may have a little extra upside. Now, Draymond strength, and Jason, I think, has showed this in high school, but you don't really know until you get to college. Draymond's strength was always his motor. And so does Jason have that kind of motor to him? It looks like it to me at the high school level, but as we talk about these big guys, it's one thing to have a motor when you're the biggest, baddest guy on the field. It's another thing to have a motor, if you're going against like Paris Johnson in practice and he's just put you in the dirt a couple times to see how that motor's running. So that'll be kind of a thing for me to watch. But great kid, great family. Is a very athletic family. His older brother Justin is a guard at Villanova on the basketball floor. He's recovering from a Achilles tear that he suffered last year in the NCAA tournament. But a big time basketball player. DeMatha kind of started as a basketball factory and has become a phenomenal football program as well. But the athletic talent is there. This was a huge pickup for them. They need to replenish this defensive line. They need to do that in this class. They're losing some guys this year, the Zach Harrisons of the world, Teron Vincents of the world. And then you've got this group of third-year players coming back next year with Sawyer and Tui Maloau and Michael Hall and just all these guys. And you just don't know how long these guys are actually going to be in Columbus. So you got to, every year, 4 or 5 of these guys, you got to keep rolling them. So this was a huge pickup for them over Notre Dame. Kevin, anything to add here on this one? I know this is, again, one of the more higher rated guys in the class.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll just to get to my first point, just wasn't a lot of talk there. I mean, people were excited. It's like, cool, who's next? And that's kind of where we are in terms of recruiting. And I'll use this capsule to kind of give the message that I've given other people who maybe were disappointed that there wasn't more of a signing day splash. I mean, you don't know until all the letters of intent are in and everything else. But if Ohio State would have gotten verbal commitments from Jason Moore and Brandon Ennis on National Signing Day, people would be over the moon right now. So, sometimes we just, a guy commits over the summer and it just kind of gets lost in the moment or whatever, or your eyes are somewhere else. I mean, obviously Ohio State's receiver recruiting was of a a huge story this year of what was going on there. But be aware of what is coming in and Jason Moore, because he has the pedigree obviously from the family, he has the pedigree obviously from the program he's coming out of, and I just like everything that he offers. And I think that he's somebody that, we talk about guys that, all right, well, if everything goes right, this guy could be pretty good. I think this guy could be pretty good under most circumstances. I really feel strongly there.
Yeah, kind of like everything. A lot would have to go wrong for him not to be a good player at Ohio State, and yeah, just a tremendous player. And again, I think one of those kids who falls victim to very quiet kid. Did not do a lot of interviews during his recruiting process. Was not very vocal on social media during his recruiting process, and so I think there are times where kids like that maybe don't get the hype, or the excitement level isn't there for those kids when they commit, that maybe it is for some others who kind of play the social media game a little bit. But I think this was, as important of a commitment in a signing as any they'll have today. But yep, big get for the Buckeyes. Really high upside player who's already pretty darn good. I wouldn't call him a project at all. He's kind of a high ceiling and a high floor player in my opinion. So big one for the Buckeyes. That'll do it for this capsule. Again, all this stuff can be found on BuckeyeHuddle.com with more written content around it. We'll have other analysis throughout signing day. If you just want to watch the videos, it's youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and like the videos as well as you watch them. If you feel the need to, that's always helpful for us too, if you do that. And if you just rather would just listen to these in audio format, you can download them on pretty much any podcast platform. But thanks again for watching. Thanks again for listening, and we will see you on the next one.